So I think about this quite a bit. So brief context background is financial crime is growing. Teams like to say small, right? Operational efficiency is super important in financial services, especially in AML teams. And so it's a quite obvious thing to do to deploy AI. It's typically around a 5x ROI in terms of just savings. And practically, they're typically deeper reviews and actually better at solving the core problem of finding financial crime compared to, say, outsourced BPO work. And I've seen kind of three core patterns across organizations where they face friction or AI deployment doesn't go as planned. So I think the first one is that they don't actually have a good way to show ROI to their exec team. And so I've seen a lot of different POCs that we run. And of course, we try to be prescriptive, given that we've done this a bunch of times now, where folks take relatively qualitative approach to deploying AI. They have is the write-up look good? Is it relatively working? But then when you share this with, say, a CFO at your company or a CEO at that company, they don't have a lot of context on what your team actually does day to day, and they don't have time to actually get ramped up on that. So what I've seen is the check the box AI days are kind of over. So people will deploy it, and this was, still kind of goes on in organizations. Great, your team is using it. But then they see that, oh, my team's actually growing in cost, not reducing in cost. And so I think it's very important to have hard, concrete metrics on how your team's actually reducing their handle time, what alerts are actually being cleared, what's the precision and recall of those decisioning rates. And so you can actually share this with upper management and actually know for yourselves that, hey, volume is scaling and we're not having to hire accordingly. So I think that's the first one is, and it sounds simple and easy, but I do think, people can often forget about the actual ROI that AI needs to have with it. I think the second key one that comes up all the time is fear from auditors. And so we speak with regulators on a regular basis, super important for us. And they're actually pretty comfortable with it. So I do think some of this fear is just fear of the unknown, not that these models in fact actually work. And actually they're way more explainable than the models of the past. So traditional AI fraud models are ML, like random forests or XGBoost models, which are very much a black box. It's very hard to see actually what features went into a score, what those features even mean, and to have any sort of explainability with that. And AI is quite the opposite. You can get pretty good with tracing what data was actually accessed, explainability, and then actually verifying that all with a clean audit trail. And so I do see this as a fear more of the unknown. We have put a lot of materials out there to help people through this, but I see it as a blocker for at least the bigger kind of financial institutions that we work with. The third major blocker I see is treating it as a outsourced tool. And so what I mean by that is you don't really want to take the time to understand it. You just want to turn it on, set it and forget it. And it's not that type of technology. So if you think about your use of ChatGPT, of Claude, whatever model that you use, it's extremely interactive and extremely dynamic. And that's really the value of AI. And I do care about this a lot for not only making sure people get their deployments right and get value out of it, meaning you're going to have to interact with the AI, you're going to have to configure it, you're going to have to understand how it works, but it also helps for future-proofing the employment of everyone's careers. I'm not as much of a doom and gloom guy where all jobs are kind of going away. I see it more as a tool like Excel, but of course more powerful, where if you don't use it, you'll be much less efficient. The Jensen Huang quote that I love to say here is, AI is not going to take your job, but someone using AI will. And so I feel strongly that folks need to actually enable themselves and not treat it as a outsourced, hey, I turned on AI, it's working, because that'll have all those downstream effects of, well, now it's not showing the ROI that you want because you're kind of treating it like the check the box thing. Now it's hard for you to defend to an auditor because you truly don't understand it and you're just poking your vendor with saying, can you share with me what you think? And so I think kind of those two things are the major reasons why I see institutions not deploying it at scale in financial crime.